Cut the dang music. What's up, everybody? Let's get to questions right away. Actually, I want to talk about a couple things. We'll get to your question, Rick, in a sec here. Hope everyone's well that's on the stream now as we filter some more people in here. We're going to get some fucking TRT madness going, brothers. Let's talk about one major topic, though. Again, I talk about the stuff I think is confusing to people and to try to kind of clear things up. There is a sentiment that the higher the androgens, hold on, let me fix the old camera there. The better for erections. But, you know, as people get into the high androgen territory, erectile quality typically tends to go south after a threshold is reached. Usually that's a threshold in estradiol. The answer truly is that some people have erections that are just fine at like 700 test. But some people are going to need 1,300, 1,300. And wherever E2 falls, if they still have erections, that's okay. Some of them are going to need to take a little bit of an AI to get E2 down to 40, 35, 30 or something, and then the erections are stellar. Erections are driven, just so we all understand, mainly by DHT. But this is what makes it confusing. Because you can have really high DHT, but not enough estrogen signaling or not enough serum estrogen, you're not going to have erections. It's fucked up, right? So it's not exclusively DHT driven, but DHT is like what, fosters the vascular functions of erectile quality to be in order. What I think that this was an email that came through. It's a guy that goes up on androgens to the 1,400, 1,500 range in total test, way over the range free test, pretty over the range bioavailable test. Higher than I frankly feel comfortable myself, but that's where he gets erections. And there's this little window there where like at 1,450 total test, he's got great erections. But right when he gets up there to all that great erection quality, the libido suffers. Whereas when he was at 1,100 or 1,000 or something, the libido is good, but the erections weren't good. It means you have a narrow window, dude. Guy that's watching, guy that emailed me, Jeremy, if you're watching, it means you have a very narrow window, and you've got to find the spot. And it might be like a 50 nanogram per deciliter window, and a small window in estradiol where you have the androgens which give you those rockin' erections, because make no mistake, it's androgens that give you the erections, but where like estradiol doesn't fuck with the erections, and also it is in its place for libido. Yeah, and that might be a really narrow window for you. But make no mistake, everybody, the androgens are what drive your erections. This is why when people do the daily sub-Q injections, and they're injecting 20 milligrams at once, at 8 weeks, they could be at 1,000 total tests. But again, from the subcutaneous depot in this case, if there's only these microscopic amounts of testosterone that are being released, you may not ever reach an androgenic threshold to have good erectile quality. Whereas if you're doing every other day sub-Q, that's better. Every third day, better. And then you should, if you're going to go every fourth day, you might as well do intramuscular at that point. People do need to get that despite your blood's looking at 1,100, or 900, you need an androgen signal at once. Because forget about what the bloods say. Your penis needs a DHT signal sufficient enough for it to work. Even if you're at 1,000 total tests, this is where I think people get confused. But you're doing all the tests that you're actually getting, all that is accumulated test over time. Who knows if it's actually working? You're getting these micro droplets of test in the depot, just releasing, and you're just hovering here, You switch to every other day. Guess what happens in that intramuscular or subcutaneous depot? There's more test. More is gonna enter your system at once. I don't know why people don't get that. It is absolutely positively true. I've done graphics on this where I've showed like what a daily sub-Q or a daily anything depot looks like. It's smaller little droplets versus every other day, every third day, bigger droplets. Right? Your body's going to metabolize more of that test. You will get more at once. That is critical for erectile quality. The androgen load and the amount you're getting at once. We have an androgenic signal, all of us. Some of us, it's 700. Others of us, it's 1100. Like that's where I'm at, 1100 total test, 1165 or something last check. Some people it's 1400. So, Jeremy, if you're watching, dude, you do need to be around 1400, 1450 total tests, and you've got to either increase the HCG dose a little bit to get that estrogen right in your libido zone where you still have erections and libido, and potentially need to lower the estrogen. The guy didn't give his estrogen numbers. So yes, higher androgens equals better EQ. Yes, higher androgens is always going to equal better erectile quality, to a certain threshold. Like everybody has a point at which they go over, and then the erections start failing, whether it's DHT crowding out the E2 or it's too high E2. So you've got to find the sweet spot. The sweet spot, boys. Again, 900 to 1100, 900 to 1200 is like a really good target. If you find like Jeremy, who's in my email like all last night, that you need to be at 1450 to have erections, okay, you've got to manipulate the rest of the metabolites, accordingly. All right, before we start, one quick thing. This ends probably this week. All right, so coaching at a discounted rate is ending this week. There are 5 slots left. That's it. When those are filled, coaching will literally go away. I've decided I'm going to take coaching down because I can't take any more people. I've booked 19 people in the last 20 something days. And I still have some other clients and stuff. I'm just not going to be able to take people. So this is your last chance. I'll leave that up there and let's get the questions. All right, Rick Diaz, what numbers could the majority expect on sub-Q every other day versus intramuscular injections at the same dose? Tricky and unknown, because here's what happens. Here's the silly thing that happens. Sometimes people on sub-Q end up with higher amounts of total testosterone. And if you try to think about what's happening at the conversion level, it might just be that less testosterone is being wasted because there's a very steady supply. So, your ability to convert, to cleave off the ester and to make real bioavailable testosterone is strong when there's a consistent flow of it. Whereas on intramuscular injections, you peak and you trough and it's not as steady at all, right? So you got some people with sub-Q with higher numbers and some people with intramuscular. This is where it gets contradictory with higher numbers. And I think that is because their body, so there is no generalities here. Their body converts that, like peaks the testosterone higher with a injection in the vascular tissue where their blood vessels can then really transport that test, and it peaks higher. So I've seen both, man. I've honestly seen both. You're going to have to figure out what profile you are by measuring your bloods. What's your most firm opinion between sub-Q versus TRT versus intramuscular by the research? Mood stability, having the same numbers but feeling off. You have the same numbers now, but you're feeling off. Well, the bottom line is this. The pattern I've seen with sub-Q injections is that people generally feel very good. They feel very good, but if they're doing them too frequently, the erections and libido aren't up to par. That is for sure what I see as a pattern that is, consistent enough for me to notice it. That people, do intramuscular injections and they feel overstimulated for half the day, and then they start feeling better at nighttime or whatever. Or their erection quality and libido is like good from 9 in the morning until noon, and then afterwards it just falls off or some shit like that. People get acute side effects sometimes from intramuscular injections, like they feel head pressure, overstimmed, or just weird in some way. And sub-Q ends up working better for them. The truth about the science, though, of efficiency and uptake is that intramuscular is far superior than subcutaneous. Far superior. It's how we've done it forever. No endocrinologist you're ever going to meet is going to be like, inject the test in your body fat. They're going to be like, put it in your fucking muscle. They're also going to tell you to do 400 milligrams every 2 weeks. So it's like you got to weigh out the trust thing there. I think the answer truly is whatever is going to work for you. Yeah. I mean, I have seen people do daily sub-Q and it works. I've just seen more people where it doesn't. I've seen people do sub-Q split up and that works far better for them. Every other day, every third day. Totally good. And then there's people that inject 20 milligrams intramuscular every day. They're dialed in. There's people that inject 200 milligrams at once. They're dialed in. Everybody's different, man. You know, you got to find what works for you. Good morning, my brothers in test. What's up, everybody? The fuck's up? Those of you that just jumped on, 5 slots left. Coaching's going away, so I'm going to take it down once we're booked. I will not be able to take any more clients at that point. All right, you can email me to try to get on board, but, you know, it's going to be a premium. Discounted for another 5-6 days, maybe a week. Anthony Scalise. What's up, my seeming Italian brother? My pre-TRT TDE ratio was always low, 2.5 to 3%. A lot of ups and downs over the years. Everyone claims 5 to 10% is okay. I think I could be someone that needs to be staying at 3% TDE. I don't understand what this means. So I don't know what that ratio means. I think of 30 to 1, 50 to 1, and things like that. So can you clarify that for me, my seemingly Italian brother? Like what, your estrogen is 3% of your testosterone? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, try to clarify, man. And let's talk numbers too. Audacity, I'm on 130 milligrams of Test-C once a week. Okay, so this guy does one injection of 130 once a week intramuscular. Energy, anabolism, or great libido climax sensitivity are somewhat reduced. Should I consider Proviron, Masteron, or similar? What do your bloods look like? Would be my first question. Yeah, what do the bloods look like here? Because 130 injected at once, I mean, you could be peaking at 1,500, 1,800, or you peak at about 1,100, you know, or 1,000. I don't know if you're not. I don't see that you have HCG or don't have HCG in here, so that needs to be factored into the equation here. Sometimes adding HCG increases libido, climax, and sensation markedly. You know, we think it's due to the estradiol, but there's got to be something to say about functional testes that, you know, makes that a reality for people. So I need to understand where you're at regarding bloods, frankly, and exactly what the feel is like when you're in an excessively DHT dominant state versus estradiol. It's like the penis feels dry and it almost feels like a little stunted, like when you take an AI. So, you know, that's an imbalance in DHT and estrogen. You got to have the estrogen signaling a little higher in that case. If estrogen is the problem, your dick is fluffy. That's just it. It doesn't have that dry feeling of it. You know, when DHT is too high, you almost have, what do they call that? Hard flaccid, where when you're flaccid, you're extremely, it's just it's hard still, but not a fully erect, but just like harder. Yeah, that's the DHT dominant state with not enough estradiol. But in the case that your estrogen is going too high, the whole thing would be fluffy and watery, just like your body would. Look to the penis, yeah, like to behave just like your body and your physique does, like with high estrogen versus low estrogen or high DHT. You know, high DHT, what do you have? Less subcutaneous water under the tissues. Penis acts the same, right? And there's a good middle ground there where that DHT is driving erectile quality, and you're great. Too much, and it's problematic. With estrogen, the same is true. With your physique, what do you do? You get watery and fluffy, man. you know, your face looks bigger than it should. Your definition kind of goes down. My definition is very down at the moment because I am fat. I am fat right now. I overate this week purposely, and I've got to work that back down, and that's kind of what I do. I go up and I go down like that. That way I don't have to stay in a bulk all the time. Anyway, fluffy body, if it's not body fat and too many calories, too many a giant Italian hoagie, which was the case for me 2 nights ago. Then yeah, fluffiness is estrogen. Your dick follows what your body would do in these cases. You got to determine which one of those, you know, which one of those things is actually happening here, and measure your bloods. Just started TRT with 30 milligrams every other day at test prop sub Q. I think that would hurt so bad because the PIP with that stuff sub Q is terrible. But okay, hope you're doing well. 250 IU HCG every other day. Would you suggest any modification? with all due respect, brother, I have no idea what your symptoms are. You have not described how you feel, what your erections are, what your libido is like. Gotta figure that out. I mean, how would I be able to guide you if I can't tell where you are? I'm getting bigger. Well, I'm fucking fat right now is what I am. I'm fat, bro. My physique is looking like shit. Shit. You can't see anything. You can't see it. It gives me fuel for the gym, today. I just like my chest looks like absolute shit when I am like have fed myself with a lot of calories, and it looks like totally lean and awesome when I am in a deficit. But thanks. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm on 175 milligrams of test right now too, so we're getting up there. Take about 2 months, but once I cut down completely, my physique will probably look comparable to when I was on cycle. I've kept a lot of that muscle. On daily 20 milligrams test prop, 0.5 mil. Okay, right. So the dropper of 20% DHT and 100 IU of HCG, E2 ultrasound was 63 with no libido sexual function. That's crazy aromatization for someone lean and muscular, right? On 20 milligrams a day test prop, depends on where your total test goes. If your total test is at 1800, no, that's not a lot. If your total test is at 1500, no, that's still not a lot. Like you would, at 1500, I'd be at like 60 picograms per milliliter estradiol. That's why I need to be, 1,000 to 1,300 range. And then the estrogen falls in reasonable over range, but not substantially. And there's enough DHT to support erectile quality. In this case, though, like I said, you've got to determine whether or not your DHT here is just countering the E2. You could be at 63 picograms per milliliter all you want, but I've been on cycle with E2 at up there and taken DHT. And then it was like it worked great because it balanced out the estrogen signal, but then it made me have ED because DHT can kill estrogen at the tissues and give you ED. So you've got to determine what the hell maybe that DHT is crowding things out, dude. That's quite a lot of DHT, brother. This is why I've done videos on reconstituting that shit with more oil so that you can get a milligram per drop. Yeah, at your 20%, 0.5 mil, I think a drop of that stuff is 7 milligrams. 0.5 mil on that dropper, you're probably getting 100 milligrams of DHT, bro. Is your hair falling out? That's not crazy aromatization. We don't know what your total test number is. If you can give me that, I can tell you if that's crazy aromatization or not. But your protocol's too convoluted. You got to be balanced, man. You can be at 1100, 1200 like where I'm at right now. But my E2 is 43, right? It oscillates probably between 37 and 43. And that's fine for me. And, my erections are stellar because I got enough androgens. You're seemingly, that estradiol being 63 is obviously a problem. You're out of balance. Tube. Dot perfect. Switching from everyday sub-Q to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, shallow IM. Is the difference between no or low libido, OKEQ, to youthful libido, and awesome EQ. Okay, got it. So you were doing, what's the total dose, by the way? We don't know that. Switching from everyday sub-Q to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, shallow IM is the difference. Okay, so this is case in point. I mean, all this guy did was get more testosterone at once. That's it. And of course you have better libido and erection quality because testosterone and its conversion to DHT, and that's what drives that. That's what drives it. People are always going to find like more testosterone at once. You're going to have better erections, but there's a threshold. You cross that threshold and things get out of balance, and then shit goes downhill. It's like watch Derek's video on this, like with difference between high estrogen and low estrogen. There's always a sweet spot, bro. Where erections are good, morning wood is good. I don't know your total dose here, but I mean, I would wager you're obviously getting higher peaks in androgens, dude. So your penile tissues like loaded with DHT. It's enough. It's not crushing the estrogen signal. You got a good balance. You have a good enough amount of estrogen to have libido and allow androgens to do their thing. And you're injecting in vascular tissue. Like this is a case here. Well, I bet. So you were sub-Q. You went to Monday. You were doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it's pretty much every other day, and then you skip a day. You do it 3 days thereafter. If you had a high enough dose of every other day sub-Q, I bet you could do the same thing. But this is great. If you're where if you feel good, stay there. Stay there. Stay there. Let this be a lesson to people. The sub-Q daily stuff doesn't work, man. Doesn't usually work for people, no matter what your test numbers are. And in this case, sub-Q generally is not working for this guy. You'd have to do sub-Q twice a week or every other day with a higher dose. I need to make that work. Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, brother. I came across this group of docs talking about protocols. They said TRT coaches got it right and copying them. Can you review a video called Pharmaceutical Methods of Optimizing Testosterone? What are they saying? So they're saying that the TRT coaches have it right. Yeah, we do have it right. We do. And this isn't because they are inferior to us. It is because they've never dove deep enough into having to work with a person over many months and scale that to 2,000 plus, where you see all these nuances. I think at the MD level, they go, okay, 200 milligrams once a week or 400 every 2 weeks. Okay, things aren't good. Let's give you 0.5 or 1 milligram in anastrozole. Okay, things aren't good there. Let's give you Cialis. That's it. That's where they stop. But we're in the trenches. The TRT coaches are recognizing, first of all, the dose might be too high. Maybe they need more frequent injections, but not every day. What does this person's metabolism of testosterone prefer in terms of sub-Q versus IM? We just have to be a lot more granular about what people respond better to. And doctors are typically kind of myopic in here's how this should work. Pharmacokinetics, studies, and if you don't respond that way, I guess you're just an anomaly. Here's some Cialis. But there is a reason that they're not responding that way. We exist as TRT coaches down at the boots on the ground level of finding out those reasons and then optimizing a protocol around that. I'll look at that, man, at some point. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I would like to at least maybe get a snapshot of that. Cool. Any cognitive benefit with the addition of DHT cream? DHT gel, you mean? It's really an oil base along with a base of TRT, of testosterone cypionate. Test cream, mood improved, lacked anabolism. Yeah, test cream is like that. It's one of the reasons I just went back to long ester, is because the anabolism was suffering. Lacked anabolism, switched to 3x per week instead of daily and noticing benefits, 210 a week. Yeah, sure. You're getting more testosterone at once. It's more stable. You have more nitrogen retention, so you will get more anabolism for sure. If you add DHT cream along with a base of test sip, is there a cognitive benefit? Oh, almost always, yeah. DHT is like a nootropic, man. It makes you feel fucking very masculine, very assertive, and very like you can get things done in life. Because that's what drives men's ability to do that is DHT. We're like that. That's what we need. Yeah. Just take Proviron, right? 25 milligrams Proviron a day, and you'll notice that cognitive benefits like a nootropic, man. DHT is an antidepressant. What's the deal with over-aromatization? I'm 5'10", 175. You're literally my height and my weight. And very lean, but 10 milligrams test. No, I'm 180 now. Prop. One-click test cream, 100 units HCG. E2 at 72 at peak. I reduced HCG to 60 units. Some improvements. Well, I just think you should probably change esters. Your 10 milligram in test. Again, where is your total testosterone going? This is how you can determine if you're over-aromatizing. If your total test is at 1,500, you're not over-aromatizing, bro. I'd be probably 65 at 1,500, but that's not very far off from 72. Doesn't mean it's not a problem that your estrogen's at 72. That's usually noodle dick territory. But where's your total test? You got to test that at the peak because, again, if it's 1,500, 1,700, you're aromatizing normally. Doesn't mean it's good, though. And you got to figure that out. If that is the case, you can't be taking 10 milligrams test prop a day. It's too much. It's too much. Also, that test cream, is it 200 milligrams or is it 100 milligrams? The 200 milligram cream, can peak you pretty high. Can enclomiphene stunt growth if your growth plates are still open? Potentially. Don't know enough to give you like a real answer, but sounds reasonable. Steve Seeley, I'm not pitting currently natty. Total test is 8.6 nanomolars per liter. I don't remember those ranges, bro. SHBG is 10. Couldn't find any testing protocol that felt good on that. Didn't result in 170 plus estradiol. Looking at bolus testy or test isocaprate. If I were you, like Steve, listen, everybody needs to be in a range in estradiol that supports libido but doesn't inhibit erectile quality, and they have to have a range of androgens that supports erectile quality, which doesn't bring estrogen above, that threshold. So you've got to find that. At the same time, it's not just about the bloods. It is about the amount of androgens being introduced to your system at once. Some people will inject intramuscular or sub-Q every day and not have libido and erections. And the moment they bring that out further to every other day even, and they let that protocol sit for 4 or 5 weeks, libido and erections come back. There's all manner of shit you can do with TRT to dial in. And I promise you, I could dial you in. I promise you. It's not difficult, but you've got to, in the case of cypionate, give 4 weeks, 5 weeks, unless you front load. You got to give it time to see where things go. And you got to do experiments and ruthlessly take notes. When I was dialing myself in, you should see my fucking notes, man. In the very beginning, like trying to deter, and every protocol thereafter that changed as I had to dial that in, ruthless notes. Nocturnals, but no libido. Like morning wood, some libido. Like libido between 3 and 7 p.m. After injection felt like, numb for 2.5 hours. What is that? Balancing. Oh, it's like over the years I learned, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, to refine it. Watch all of our content, continue up on that. I would stay away from the forums because it's just a bunch of people parroting shit that they think is true or what may have worked for them. A lot of dogma over there too, so that doesn't really make sense. I don't have Tourette's, but I am dealing with a neck injury that sometimes I have to put less pressure on it. Best cure for medium penile fibrosis beyond androgen balance, stem cell injections? Potentially, yeah. Any testimonials from clients? No, DHT is the best cure for that, really. Lots of DHT. Yeah, what I would do is get, first of all, get the Doppler to see if you have venous leakage. Yeah. I mean, an improper hormone protocol can give you venous leakage too, just so folks understand. But, if you were starved of DHT for a while, you almost definitely have some venous leakage. But DHT is probably the better bet here. The P shot, hit or miss. I think if you do that consistently, platelet-rich plasma in your penis, then with your own blood and plasma, then that should eventually help over time. Things like TB500 for neovascularization, stuff like the Phoenix, which is shockwave therapy for neovascularization, the spontaneous creation of new blood vessels, things like that. But ultimately, DHT is really what revives it. I mean, you give someone the right amount of testosterone that has pure venous leakage, and it cures it. Does that via DHT. Daily prop killed my sensation regardless of dose. Interesting. I get morning wood and not feel it all day. And if they'd had it super sensitive and multiple erections through the night, HCG stable on both. Man, go back to your enanthate. Go back to your enanthate. You can make the daily prop work, but the dose is just obviously not right for you. This TRT journey I'm on is so frustrating. Clinics make you think TRT therapy is a quick fix. You tell it like it is, Ryan, and help a lot. But everything the little guy loses, hope it costs a lot. But like everything the little guy loses, hope it costs a lot. I don't understand what you mean there. Yes, the truth is, it could take you a fucking year to dial in. If you just don't know, like for me, it's like I've got 3 months, 6 month packages with coaching. That's enough time because we'll run through all the shit, quickly. Look at the person's history and understand what they respond to. Couple that with all my knowledge of seeing this over the years of what works and what doesn't, and how people get misled by some of the bullshit that's on the internet and stuff. And it's pretty easy for me to dial in. I still have troubled clients though, like trouble clients, right? And these are usually guys with PFS, that or have just really messed up their hormone profile and have been starved of DHT for a while, among other things. Some people are extremely sensitive to fluctuations. Some people need fluctuations. It can take a while to dial you in. That's why, like with coaching, it's like 3 months. We get the majority cases resolved, but some of them take 6. Some of them are just going to take 6, And that's why it's not for everybody. Ryan, what's up, brother? Had a fertility test done on test alone and was completely infertile. That makes sense. Ran HCG, 100 IU every other day, and knocked my girlfriend up within 2 months. Some people need very little HCG, as you say. Yeah, so that's 50 IU a day. Again, at 62.5 IU a day, you're at 75% intratesticular testosterone, which assumes that you also have roughly above 50% percentage in Sertoli cell function and sperm motility, semen parameter function. You know, this is a good point, everybody. HCG sometimes, because you're dosing it too high, is killing your protocol. It's just killing it. You can't be on that extreme end where you're Dave Lee and you say no one needs it. Of course, people need it. Some people need it. He doesn't, and other people don't for whatever reason. Some people though just it's too much. 150 IU every day, it's too much. Even 100 IU every day might be too much. This guy, 50 IU every day, it's 100 IU every other day. That works, and it doesn't muck everything up. I'm on 100 IU a day. That's like, with 175 tests, that's all I can really tolerate. Exact percent of estrogen and testosterone, 5-10% total clinics. Okay, bro, you put that in the super chat. Mike, Jesus Christ, brother. Wow. Mike, thank you for the super chat, bro. Fucking Michael, dude. Michael? Did your parents call you Michael when you were a kid? Michael! Thank you, bro. I appreciate that, man. That's going to go... It just goes into a cumulative YouTube revenue amount that they, deposit into my bank account every month or something. But I really appreciate that, man. Please ask more questions if you need help. Was using test cream on the scrotum. At peak, my levels were 838 total test. E242. I think the test probably would have had to have been about 1,200, 1,300 to support that level of E2. So that's the first critical takeaway you should take from this. DHT at 126. In the morning, it dropped to 638 test. So this is before application, E230 and DHT 39 of my PSSD software, and I felt super overstimulated, like mentally wired and kind of losing it. Okay, so what do you need help with there, man? Where was sexual function? Did you have any good degree of sexual function there? Cream also can be extremely stimulating when you are not used to it. Eventually, that clears out for most people. A month, 2 months, maybe 3 months. It just takes time to stop, stimulating the hell out of you. I got super stimulated. Like each time I'd increase the dose of cream years ago when I first attempted to use cream, I would feel that way. I would feel overstimulated. So it's probably more so the quick peak and not the total androgens. Because at 838, you shouldn't feel overstimulated. I'm now at 1165, 1200. I don't feel overstimulated, but I do have energy all day, which is good. So your trough numbers, that's reasonable. 638 test, 30 E2, DHT 39. Yeah. Mentally wired, kind of losing it. Why don't you follow up, brother, so we can actually give you some more value with what sexual function was like. What was sexual function like? Because that's really the main thing that you're trying to fix here with PSSD. So do I have any follow-ups from you on that? Yeah, please describe what sexual function is like, Mike, and put in your comment, hey, I super chatted the $99. So let's figure that out. You might just be a better candidate for anethate or cypionate, Don't do everyday injections. Start with 40 milligrams every other day, a very little bit of HCG, 70 to 100 IU a day, and run that for 6 weeks straight. Yeah, I bet you'll feel a lot more stable. Sexual function will probably be better. And then you could dial it in from there if it's not. We don't know, based on what you've given me here, if you need higher androgens to have good erections. We don't know what's happening with sexual function. But the overstimulated feeling here is just you're peaking too fast. And that happens, you can synthesize a bunch of catecholamines from that, noradrenaline specifically, and that can make you feel fucking wired. That is almost definitely what that is, dude. But please follow up so we can give you more value for your super chat. I really appreciate that, man. How's the sip going? Steady state is fine for me personally, but love going back to prop for the trough I get every night. Yeah, that trough feeling is amazing in the late evening. Yeah. Yeah, I got to tell you, I had the craziest troughs on 40 milligrams every other day of prop. I'd feel like Superman day 1 of injection. Day 2, I'd start feeling pretty crappy. And then by nighttime, I was like a zombie. It wasn't enough test for me, Whereas 25 every day, I felt fine, but the anabolism was kind of shit, but the erections were good and the libido was good. Yeah, the Cypionate for me, I've always been able to dial that in. 70 milligrams every 4th day. 210 a week without HCG. I had good erections, but my libido and sensation were off. That was sub-Q daily. Now I'm running 50 milligrams sub-Q every other day, 100 IU HCG every day, 20 milligrams DHA. Fucking just dialed in, man. What else worked for me on Cypionate? Low end doses, 115 a week, doing daily intramuscular injections with 200 IU of HCG a day. That worked. Fucking 70 milligrams a test a week, 10 milligram a day injection worked great for sexual function, but I was tired and my libido or my anabolism sucked. So there's all kinds of things, For me, 900 to 1200 is where I feel the best. And as long as the estrogen doesn't go too high, I'm dialed in. Erections are amazing. That's where I'm at right now. The way I'm able to control that is by low dosing HCG. Yeah, it's like 99 units, 99 IU a day or something like that. But it's good, man. I mean, the whole purpose for me was more energy and anabolism. Toward the end of the day, troughing with cream, I was just kind of getting sick of it, And, cream is somewhat volatile for me. If I increase the dose, it starts messing up erections and stuff like that. So I'm feeling fine. I could always dial in on Cypionate. It's just for people, it's generally harder. Is test C and E dosage comparable or equal? Mostly, yeah. But I mean, test NFA, you get a little higher peak and a little more testosterone per milligram or per, amount in the needle. I think Vigorous Steve's boys did a breakdown on this where testes, just you're getting a little more testosterone. Joe Harper, thanks for the super chat, brother. Into the super chat bank, man. Masteron feels so good to me. Primo and Proviron different as well. You ever ran it or client? What, Masteron? Yeah. 10 test prop, 3 clicks, 100 milligram cream, and 80 to 100 milligrams Primo dials you in. Want Masteron. Could 80 to 60 test E to mast, keep the zone. All right. So Masteron feels good to me. Why? Energy, anabolism, erection quality, libido. Primo and Proviron different as well. Different than Masteron. Worse or better? Different. Have I ever ran it with clients? Masteron, yes. And I've ran it myself, yes. Some people can take 100 milligrams of Masteron a week with their TRT protocol and they're completely dialed in. Some people inject 30 milligrams of Masteron and it kills their libido. It's blocking estrogen too much at the receptor in those cases. They have an exaggerated response to Masteron. So yes, I have had that. I've run it many times with clients. These days, I'm less keen to want to do that because I'd rather dial them in without the use of a DHT derivative if we can, as to not convolute the protocol a lot. But some people need it. Yeah. 10 milligrams test prop, 3 clicks, 100 milligram cream. Okay. And 80 to 100 Primo dials you in. Interesting. Okay, so you want to try to dial in Masteron and not use Primo. Frankly, they have different mechanisms of action. Masteron blocks the estrogen receptors. Primobolan acts like an AI, mild AI. So if Primo dials you in, don't touch it. If you want to experiment with Masteron, do the same dose. Do the same dose of Masteron, and if that kills your libido, lower the dose of Masteron by 20 milligram increments until you land in that Primo safe zone is what I would do if I were you. Well, you were right there. PIP with test prop. Yeah, it's pretty terrible, dude. Sub-Q test prop is the worst. How significant is PIP if I replace prop with Cypionate? You won't have any PIP. with half the free, maybe a little bit of PIP. Let's see. Yeah, because bro, I did not skip your question. Yeah, your question is actually not here. Maybe you said something that was banned or something. Can you list all peptide supplements, drugs, etc., that are fantastic for libido and EQ? No, because your understanding of libido and erection quality is skewed, assuming that you can take some peptide and drug and fix it or get it optimal. You can't. There's only a couple things that exist that temporarily increase it, erection quality and libido. Your hormone profile determines these things, not a peptide. Not a peptide, bro. Your hormone profile determines these things. Androgens at the tissue, enough estrogen to support libido and not go over to cause ED. That's what drives that. Drives all the neurological stuff and all the tissue level DHT, the vascularity, all that stuff. There's no peptide. There's PT141, which temporarily, in an unpredictable onset manner, increases hypothalamic dopamine release. You know, and also the God, I forget the it's not the MT2 receptor, the melanocortin receptors that it binds to trigger part of the neurological cascade, or a good degree of the neurological cascade that produces erections, which you should otherwise be able to trigger with the right hormone profile. So all you're doing with peptides and supplements in these cases is temporarily inducing a state in which you have the right chemistry for libido and EQ. It's never sustainable. Never, ever, ever sustainable. Happy to announce Trenemy's finally dialed in. Really? 80 milligrams of Test-C 2 times a week. So he's doing 160 total, 400 master, 150 tren, a little bit of HCG, alive and thriving. That guy, he's a funny guy. But you're never going to sustainably take trenbolone. You're not. He'll eventually figure that out, but he's having fun in the meantime. And I love that guy. I have watched him for 20 minutes straight. I've watched his videos for 20 minutes straight. Lots of them. Him and his wife talking back and forth. I really enjoy their content. But I don't think that he'll be dialed in forever on trenbolone in the protocol. Maybe I'm wrong. As a high aromatizer, I have to do 14 milligrams daily. Test sip in the glute. Okay, I'm very sensitive and get insomnia. We're doing 28 every day. Better sex drive. If you don't have great sex drive now, probably yes. Energy varies usually low. That's because the dose is very low. And it sucks if you have to go down that low to do that. Maybe add some Ativar that'll probably fix that. But, you know, I mean, it's you might find that you don't need to be that low in test, or you've got to figure out how the hell you can tolerate higher amounts of testosterone, you know, and get the right ratio. I mean, if the estrogen's 42, 45, maybe even 50 with enough androgens, you might be okay. Again, everybody in the beginning of TRT and sometimes for the first year of TRT on high doses of androgens, you know, they get overstimulated, they have insomnia. It goes away as your body adjusts. You know, your body will adjust. I think you should try pushing higher doses. But if your bloods are at 1,000 here, then yeah, you don't need higher doses. But I think you should push higher doses. When I take Proviron, XYZ says, or increase my test above 150, I don't see a benefit in libido and erection quality. Actually, EQ and libido tanks at one point. So you've got to figure out whether that Proviron is too much DHT input and it's blocking the estrogen too much, because that will happen. And that will cause erection and libido problems. Or if the test itself going above 150 just takes estrogen too high and you have erectile dysfunction and libido dysfunction. That happens too. So you've got to figure out which one that is. Tripstar. Thank you very much. As a recent TBI survivor, all your information, I have fucking reading dyslexia, dude, is greatly appreciated, Ryan. Enjoy your study. Thanks, bro. You as well, dude. Good luck with the TBI stuff. That sounds horrific. You know, everybody has stuff that they've dealt with and, you know, we get through it. But that one seems real challenging. So good luck, brother. I got one of the strangest cases ever. I'm taking Test-C 260 a week on every other day shots Total test only at 22 nanomoles per liter, but free androgen is 115, SHBG low, estrogen 192. Convert that to picograms per milliliter and nanograms per deciliter. But what I think is happening here is the SHBG is low enough to give you super high free androgens, or pretty high free androgens, and kind of low end or medium end. What is that? Mid high level total testosterone. I don't look at the nanomolars per liter that much. 95% of my clients are in the States, but I do get clients from Australia and the UK and everywhere else. Convert that to nanogram per deciliter and picograms per milliliter if you want me to look at what's going on. Your protocol, 260 milligrams a week, like what is happening? I don't see any description on how you feel or libido and erections. Can't help you there, man. If my DHT tested at 160 and estrogen 37, total test 600 and free is at 56, drive is high, but erections don't match. Estrogen's 37. It means that for that total T number, despite the DHT, the estrogen's probably a little too high. That's probably what it means. It could also mean that your DHT is crowding out the estrogen signal at the tissue level. That could also be what that means. But it's probably not that because your sex drive is high. What it means is that you need higher androgens. And see if you can keep estrogen at 30, 37, 40. Or experiment with higher androgens, see where estrogen falls and see if things get better there. Again, there are people at 65 estradiol that have killer erections. I have clients like that. It's just they're the minority. Basically, by that test taking, didn't shoot. Super chat me, brother. I'm not going to read three different, disparate messages, bro. Super chat with everything. Have you used pharma and Dractum? Yeah, I have that. I have that stuff. Yeah, I like it. In cases where I might need more DHT. It works. It just works. And it's an easy amount. It's not super high. It's 2.5% or 3% or something. So I have it. It's in my cupboard. I haven't needed to use it for a while, but it's there. It was fun to experiment with. I mean, these days, if I wanted more of the DHT-like thing, milligram of DHT every other day on the scrotum, transdermal solution reconstituted to be a milligram per drop, or 12.5 to 25 milligrams per Viron a day. That even feels better. Proviron is just wicked, man. Wicked, brother. Good morning, brother. Hey, what's up, dude? Thought of you when I watched the Hulk Hogan talk on Netflix. Did you, brother? No, I haven't. I haven't seen it. The last I saw him is like I saw like the last video before he died. It was like, and he looked terrible. It was like, this is like one of the last videos the Hulkster ever made, and he like his eyes just he looked like a skeleton, man. He looked really fucking bad. But I'll make a note. Matthew, how's it going with Chill? How'd you say it? A rough one? Yeah, we had a rough like last 3 weeks, man. Relationships are not easy. There's a lot of shit that outside of a relationship dynamic that can come in and muck with it. There's just been a lot. We're okay, but there's just a lot of other shit that's gone on. And that's life, man. That's honestly just life. But I love that woman very much, and I was with her all last night. We went to the casino last night, and had some drinks together and did some advantage playing, and I just left her house this morning at 8:30 or 9 o'clock and came home. I only noticed an increase in erections, but okay. Oh, Mike. Okay, so let's go back to that. Libido felt muted. Increased in erections, you have anhedonia. Okay, so you felt better erections, but not libido. You still have anhedonia. The anhedonia in this case might need to be resolved with a mild dopaminergic. I think 9-methyl beta carboline at low end doses, 20 milligrams a day, 30 milligrams a day. Over time with the right hormone profile, that should resolve, but you might need some dopaminergic support for that. The reason you weren't dialed in sexually here, you had better erections but no libido, is probably probably cream is just not going to work for you. There are people for whom cream does not work for libido for them because it's just so DHT centric that even though the numbers look like that, it's just such a DHT heavy thing. Like if I took no test and took DHT, I'd have erectile dysfunction eventually, and I'd lose my hair and I'd feel all fucked up. Like, you need a balance of these things. If I were you at this stage, man, because that E2 is not terrible. The total test should be higher for that estrogen though, but you're getting a lot of DHT, and that's probably why this is happening. I would do some infrequent injections of a long ester with 60 to 100 IU of HCG a day, and I'd keep your total weekly dose at around 150 or below. If that doesn't work for you with infrequent injections, every other day or every third day, even every fourth day, then consider that same framework but increasing the long ester dose. Copper to balance zinc and helping with gray hairs. I never noticed. People like to say that if you take a lot of copper, it causes zinc deficiency and vice versa. None of these people have ever tested their bloods, dude. It's really hard for minerals and electrolytes to be not normal in the serum. Your body's really, really good at balancing that. But I don't know about the gray hair thing, bro. I'm not sure what you're implying here. So too much zinc and not enough copper causing gray hair? Don't know. I don't know. John CC. What's up, John? Protocol's going well, man. I feel good. I'm at 1160, 1170, 1200 total test. Probably fluctuates. Estradiol 37 to 42 is where I'm at. Functional testes. I feel fucking great. I mean, I wake up in the middle of the night. I have ragers most days of the week. It's actually gotten more lately, like 5 nights a week. Not every night though. Spontaneous erections throughout the day, largely driven by what's that called? Psychogenic. So psychogenic erections. My libido's very high. That's why I like to be. Erections for sex don't require Cialis. They're rigid as fuck. I feel strong, I'm at steady state. It's been long enough, but the anabolism is starting to come. I'm fat right now from overeating in the last 3 days, but when I lean out, it'll notice. I'll notice it, and maybe you guys will notice it or whatever. But I feel fucking phenomenal. That's the thing. I mean, from when I wake up until when I go to bed, I feel great. I just feel really good, and that was the aim. That and more anabolism. I can dial in on cream. I was, but it's like sometimes with different esters, it's different shit. Like troughing equals less androgen receptor activation, less nitrogen retention. So I was less anabolic, and my energy was subpar in the evening. I would say fine, but I like being an animal. How did I dial in so quick switching from cream to prop? Because I front loaded 170 milligrams intramuscularly at once. Yeah, I got to my steady state in 6 days or 7 days or something. And I went and fucking tested the blood, and sure enough, I was at steady state. Then I tested it again and stayed there. Those are the last bit of bloods that you guys saw. I did this on the channel. I showed you guys one of my most recent videos on like my TRT protocol. But the way that you get to steady state quicker when you shift from short-acting stuff to long-acting stuff is you inject a lot at once. And then you simultaneously that day start your protocol, whether it's every other day, every third day injections, you start the protocol that day. That's how you do it. And if you plot it out on steroid plotter, you run different scenarios through it. It will show you. You peak up and then you go to your steady state. Be right back, guys. 1 second. All right, brothers. Yeah, I just front loaded. I mean, that was it. And that's what I suggest people do always. You might have some side effects if you inject 150 milligrams of test at once, or 170, 200. But you just deal with that. I didn't have any side effects. Maybe one night my arm fell asleep faster than it usually does. And that's usually a sign of a little bit thicker blood for a very temporary moment. You know, your circulation then adjusts. Otherwise, I felt great. But no, I didn't want to wait 8 weeks. Fuck that, man. Fuck that, dude. Fuck that. Okay, bro. Super chat that. Any Proviron implementation in your protocol? Not now. Just don't care. Don't need it. I like it for the cognitive benefits. And, you know, like I said, if I wanted raging erections every single night, I now have them most nights. It's 4 or 5 nights a week. Spontaneous ones that just pop up when I'm trying to work, I would take Proviron, but I don't need it. I'm cool. My libido's really high, dude, at 1165 total tests and 42 E2. My libido is fucking really high. You know. What music? That's an interesting question. I mean, my go-to is the In Flames station on Pandora. It's just metal, you know. But I like a couple times a month, I will want to listen to some 80s. Like I literally have fucking Whitney Houston, "I'm Your Baby Tonight" on one of my playlists because it's just dope. It's a good song, and she's a good singer. Otherwise, yeah, man. Yeah, I'm a big Chevelle fan, so there's a Chevelle station on Pandora that I like to listen to a lot. Really old school rap, like the really fucking grimy gangster shit, like from, you know, Queens, New York, like Mobb Deep. And that's pretty much it, man. I stick to that stuff. You know, new metal bands that I have found, like the Browning. It's a band called The Browning. Fucking so hard, dude. That's the shit I listen to, man. That's the kind of stuff. 2 good movies. Weapons. When you watch that movie, you will not know like how it's going in the beginning stages, what it's ultimately about. And the premise is that, you know, 33 kids, little children, all leave their house at 3 a.m, all together with their arms out like this, and they all disappear. So the premise makes you think that, you know, they got told by their teacher who's running some cult to go in the middle of the night, or they found something on the web that they all did. It's way fucking different than that. You never see what's coming. Weapons. Secondly, probably the best movie that I've watched other than Weapons recently was the newest Mission Impossible and the final Mission Impossible. That shit will make you cry. It'll make you like amped up. It is an incredible movie. I've seen some other ones, but those are the ones that stick out. The GOAT. What's up, brother? Yeah, how this works when DHT blocks estrogen at the tissue level and the serum level. It's exactly that point. Listen, gynecomastia, exaggerated breast tissue in males, where, you know, the breast tissue develops underneath the hair, kind of looking like boobs, man boobs. If you put transdermal DHT on it, it reduces the gyno. And the literature shows us a number of different things regarding DHT's antagonistic effect on estradiol. Number one, it could block the receptors. Derivatives of DHT, like Masteron, block estrogen receptors. So DHT itself likely blocks estrogen receptors. Number two, DHT has some sort of inhibitory effect on the genes that encode your aromatase enzymes. It lowers the function of them, making you make less aromatase enzymes. So that's kind of that's ultimately what happens here. DHT, like you can take Masteron, which is as close to DHT of the DHT derivatives as you can get, and nuke your libido because it's literally acting as if it is just blocking estrogen like an AI. You know, the same thing with Primo. Too much Primo, and you're going to kill your libido. This happens to people all the time. You know, some folks can take 100 or 200 of Primo, and that doesn't happen. Well, because their body is not exaggeratingly inhibiting aromatase in that case, or they need the aromatase inhibition. But DHT can strongly do this. It is a strong counter to estradiol. There are guys using test cream that have no libido because it's too much DHT and not enough estrogen. Or their balance requires that, and it's a lot of DHT and 25 estradiol, and they feel great. It all depends on the person. But DHT is profoundly anti-estrogenic. Profoundly anti-estrogenic. You know, folks really have to remember that. That's you know, and again, you have to look at, to determine if this is happening, what is happening with your dick, and compare that to what happens with your body with too high DHT or too high estrogen, and trying to figure out where erectile quality has gone wrong. You know, with very high DHT in your body, less subcutaneous tissue, water under the tissue, a lot leaner. It's leaner. With too much DHT, a lot of DHT, your penis actually looks leaner. Too much estrogen, though, it looks too fluffy. It's fluffy. You know, it's fluffy. That's what you've got to figure out. So if it is too much DHT that is like having an anti-estrogen effect, you would expect somewhat hard, flaccid, but unable to truly achieve a good erection if the DHT is far too high. And you would expect the penis to be like very dry and rubbery. That's what that is. So you got to figure out, you know, ultimately what that is. Mike, with the $99 super chat before, I've got genes that convert testosterone into estrogen more plus COMT, where I don't clear neurotransmitters well. Okay. And well, GAD1, convert glutamate into GABA properly to calm down. Yeah, I think everybody that would go run a genetic test would probably find some deficiency in those areas. I guarantee you that's not your problem. No. The reason you convert more testosterone into estradiol is almost definitely via the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor that you took. Citalopram, sertraline, notorious for this. That is almost definitely why. And I know that, having seen bloods with people that have taken SSRIs, they look like people that have taken finasteride. They convert more to estrogen than DHT, and they convert more to estrogen than other people. So that's, you know, you might be one of those people that needs 200 milligrams a week of testanethate and, you know, a low dose of an AI every other day with some HCG to keep the testicles functional, and you end up in your balance. Enough androgens, estrogen controlled, that kind of thing. You know, that's not a protocol I think you should go execute, but something like that does work for these people, especially if test cream failed you. So we have a no libido response. Let's just look at this for a sec. From total test, it's 1780. Free test over 200. SHBG is 67. A2 sensitive 36. DHT total pick 600 what? Nanograms per deciliter? That's way too high DHT. If so, I need you to put the measurements. How do you expect me to answer you if I can't see what you're talking about, bro? What is 170/80? And free test over 200 in what? Picograms per milliliter? There's something wrong here. If your SHBG is 67, though, that's way too high. I injected 170 of test-cypionate at once. Yeah, it was 170. 150 or 170. I think it was 170. Whatever steroid plotter told me to do based on how I plotted it out to where I would equal steady state within, 5-6 days. And then, I'd fluctuate around that. That's not exactly a perfect science, but, staying there. Thank you for talking about one injection a week. I felt great there and went to daily and almost lost my shit. Thanks for your content. Yeah, it happens a lot, man. It happens a lot. Yeah, you're upset. Well, first of all, I'm fat right now. I don't look like a natty. Do you want to see my cycle? My cycle? This is basically what I look like still when I am lean. I'm just fat right now. Do I really look like a natty? Is that a natty to you? Is that a natty to you? Is that a natty? That looks like a natty to you? Look at my fucking shoulders. You think I look like a fucking natty? Look at my fucking shoulders, bro. That's how I look lean right now. I've maintained most of that mass from the cycle. You're upset because I just told you to stop posting disparate questions with a ton of information and instead spend the fucking money to do a super chat. You think we're just going to give out, you think I'm going to go and look at 8 different questions and now you're upset? And now you think I look like a natty? You see that fucking picture, bro? Yeah, that's pretty natty looking, isn't it? You're a little asshole, dude. Don't be a little fucking asshole on my stream. You're going to get fucking banned. Yeah, I told you to put it all together in a super chat. I'm going to be frank with you. I look like a natty and I'm an asshole and whatever. If as a man, you haven't gotten to the point where you can drop $100 or $150 super chat, you're doing something wrong. That's your fucking problem as a man, bro. There's a streamer named Cammy. He's a Warzone streamer. He entertains me so much and gives me so much value. I routinely give him $100. Hey, Cammy, just fucking supporting you. You give me so much value. You're the man. Get your shit together. Holy fuck. Holy shit. Be a fucking man, dude. Jesus Christ. Dave Dunn, 7759, 50 years old, 100 milligrams test. You. Free T hovers around 1500. Added 500 micrograms. Micrograms. Talk about HCG and IUs, please. Free T hovers around 1500 what? 1500 what, man? Yeah, okay. I can't help you there. For PFS, which is better, test enanthate or test prop? There is no better. There's just what you respond better to. And you've got to figure that out. You know, some people do better on cream. Again, my worst case, one of the worst cases, needed 200 of enanthate once a week. How is it? No, doing every other day injections. 0.125 milligrams of Arimidex every other day. And 150 or 200 IU of HCG every day. So that's enanthate, and it worked for him. With just a lot of androgens and estrogen control worked for that guy. Sometimes test prop works for these guys because it just gives them a peak in everything. They don't go over an estradiol or substantially over, and their body desperately needs that. It's how they're breaking down the ester and how that ester is working in their body. And that is different between people. That's the one thing I've come to learn, which is why when I see people giving the same recommendations to everybody, it makes me crazy. Dude, this is an understudied topic, the differences between people's responses in, certain esters. But it's real. It's very real. Have you seen an organic acid test before? Would you be able to look at it for me? It's not my expertise. I don't know what that is. Nope. How can you tell the difference between too much DHT versus too much E2? Can you overshoot the E2 sweet spot and correct it with high DHT? Somewhat, you can do that to answer the last part of the question. But again, as I described, too much DHT versus E2 is that your dick looks like your skin would look, your body would look with too much DHT. Just no water in it, and it's like very lean. You look to your penis, man, to understand where you are. Always look to your penis to understand where you are regarding DHT and estrogen. If it's fluffy and you can't get it hard, it's fluffy, watery, it's estrogen. That's the problem 100% of the time. If it's hard, flaccid, and you have no libido, that's too much DHT relative to estrogen. You have to have just the right androgens relative to estrogen and the right estrogen relative to those androgens. Past a certain point, everything gets skewed anyway. So the ratios scale, but then it stops at a certain point. You go over, things get fucked up. Matthew says, look huge. People also be surprised how much bigger people in real life look. Yeah, pics don't do it justice. I'm doing all right. I don't look quite that good lean, but because I was on fucking 500 milligrams of test there. But I've kept a lot of that muscle. My pumps at the gym are pretty insane. This is just the guy was upset, The whole point of the stream is to assess the value of what I can get out of it. Yeah, cool. Yeah, you're a freeloader. I understand. Cool. Disappointed. Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, it looks natty. You're a fucking asshole, dude. No successful guy does this shit. You're upset that I didn't want to answer your disparate 7 questions. Put it together. Grow the fuck up. You know, that's what I know as a successful man. Like if there's somebody on a chat, you know, like a YouTube stream, and I respect that person and they're up there doing, and I want information from them, I don't even do free questions, bro. Immediately, I know that man is taking his time, like his hours. He could be doing other stuff and is giving free value to people. I respect that dude's time. I respect the dude's hustle. I'm super chatting him at least $100 and I'm asking my fucking question, man. Yeah, you can. That's God. Guys like you are just. I honestly, really, bro. Let me find you real quick. You're in timeout, dude. I'm sorry. You are in timeout, my brother. Cringe, man. Cringe Lord. That's one of the things that will this work? Okay, no. That's one of the things that my favorite streamer on Warzone, Cammy, says. Cringe Lord. Wait, what is this? Hold on, guys. I'm trying to get the chat back. I'm trying, brothers. I'm failing really fucking hard at that right now, though, man. Haha, my dad was right. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Meat turkey for breakfast, bro. Turkeys or the women's. I don't even know what that. I don't know what that is, man. Yeah, we got him out of here for now. He's on timeout for being a weirdo. Don't be a weirdo, bro. Don't be a weirdo in South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. All right, bros. My plan today is I'm gonna go to the gym right now. Try to burn all. I'm gonna run on the treadmill for 20 minutes. I got to burn off all this fat I just put on my body. And then I'm going to come back to the Palace and probably play some Warzone. There were some pretty good updates that came about that I want to see, and some new weapon nerfs and buffs that I'd like to kind of test out. And I'm probably going to hit the casino in Pittsburgh later today. I don't know if I'll actually play. It depends on if there are any good, smart advantage plays. Otherwise, I'll probably just watch a flick tonight, game somewhere. I'm not doing anything. My girl's doing something with her girlfriend, so that leaves. And I didn't really want to go to this one, and I kind of want her to go and hang out with her girlfriends, and I kind of want to just do my own thing tonight. So I'll just be chilling. But this week, content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're putting together all the live stream clips, the most banger questions, and uploading them every Friday. So look forward to that. Regarding coaching, yeah, this goes away probably in about 5 to 7 days. There's 5 slots left, guys. So once they close at a discounted rate, coaching, this is going away. Yeah, I'm going to take coaching down. I don't know how long coaching will be down for. It will depend on when I free up more room to bring more clients on. But at the point at which these 5 slots are filled, I will not have room for people. So you got to book if you're thinking about doing it. The prices will go back to substantially higher when this happens too. So you won't be able to book for a while unless you want to pay the premium. All right. Kick ass, rock on. Enjoy the rest of your day, boys. I'll talk to you next time. Thank you, man. Thank you. Peace.